Alright, so the weather's a little better today. It's got out for a bit of a ride, but back inside we'll take apart another one of these carburetors. This is, I like these. Not super popular. These were used on Lambretta Series 1s and Series 2s with some slight modifications. This is a Spacco copy of a DellOrto MA BS7. Now, there are a number of varieties of this carburetor. 18 millimeter, 21 millimeter. Those are MA17s and 21s respectively. And then there are various modifications to this carb that have different. There's a BS7, there's BS4s, BS5, so on and so forth. And those changes mostly have to do with how the float operates and how the float bowl is set up. Now these carbs kind of unusual looking. This is a float bowl off to the side. The original ones don't have this plastic insert. It says this is a modern Spacco copy. These are relatively new production. For a long time these were kind of hard to find, these carburetors, and now Spacco is making these. I picked up a couple of these actually, and I'm currently using one on that Series 2 there, and I'm super pleased with them. Gotta say, it's really nice. The casting isn't quite as good as the original DellOrtos were. You know, some flash here and a couple other places, but operation seems to be real good. Now, before I break into this and start taking it apart, a few adjustments on here. So here's your idle speed. This just pushes on this here, which is your throttle lever. So as you're pulling your throttle, it's pulling this. You can see if that's turned in, your throttle is going to be turned up. And then that there is your idle mixture. Clamps onto an intake. The clamp is here. Fuel inlet is here. This is your inlet for your choke cable. So you'd hook up your choke cable. I'll take that apart. And then that's where your throttle cable is adjusted. Throttle cable will come across, run into here. Okay, so let's start taking it apart. Tools are all pretty basic, recognized from before. Okay, so you can see the float and its operation. Needle and seat are up in here. The operation on this DellOrto is similar to the DellOrtos in the previous video, the SIs that are on Vespas. This carburetor is a side draft, whereas those are down drafts. This is used in a Lambretta, whereas those are used in a Vespa. But you can see similar principles. So the fuel comes into the lower area here, comes up through this filter, returns back down through this small hole here, which runs past the needle and seat, which allows fuel into the float chamber. It's a brand new carburetor. This carburetor has never been used. This filter is completely new looking. Needle and seat is removed in a similar fashion as the Vespa SI. We're simply going to push this pin out here. As I mentioned, I think last time, some things these are pretty snug and hard to get out, and this one is not easy. It's not making it easy. It really wants to. But with carburetors, you have to be a little patient. So you can see In this case, the needle resides in this pocket here. Okay, so as it moves up and down. This is the float, completely disassembled. This is plastic. This main jet stack. Don't mess up the threads on these. Again, aluminum, and also here you want to be careful not to strip that. This is a good carb, so we're not gonna muck around with it and mess it up. So here we can see the main jet stack. This is 2 parts. This is 8mm wrench. It's really ideal doing it this way. I'm trying to film. Yep, there we go. And you don't want to mess up the threads on these, and I did just a little bit. So I'm trying not to make that worse. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so you notice that's stamped. It's a 78 if you can see it spinning around there. Main jet. Mixer tube. Okay, now you'll notice that this one is also marked 55 in this case. This is your choke jet. Or I should, excuse me, sorry, enricher jet. Note that there's an O-ring on there. If that O-ring isn't on there, it's going to leak all over the place. Okay, that's the choke, where your choke cable would come through, spring. Okay, it's the body of the carb. Sorry, didn't come up before. Choke. Plunger. As I mentioned before, your idle mixture screw. There we have the main body of the carburetor. Turning to the needle and throttle slide. Operation here is a little different than on the Vespa, which is a flat slide. SI carb. Here, you notice this guy here. First we pull the spring back, we can remove that. Then to remove the, pull that. needle comes free. Notice there's different settings in there. 3 settings in this case. That's it. All disassembled. Alright, come back in a second and we'll reassemble. Alright, so here we go. Let's put this mess back together. Start with the needle and throttle slide. Simply insert to the place we want. Now the factory setting on this is the middle, so it's a little tricky. Got to make sure you're getting it on the middle setting there. And there we are. Okay, simply insert that retainer back in there. We're going to pull the spring back again, and we're going to insert that ball end in there. Make sure that the spring is properly seated. There is a little seat there for it. Okay, we're going to take the whole thing and put her back in there. Recognizing that there is only one way it can go. So you can see down in the barrel there. There we go. Right about there, about 3 o'clock, there's this pin that has to go through that part of the slide. So if it's sticking, you're inserting it the wrong way. It should slide right in like that, completely effortless. Grab our correct screws for those. These are the same in this case. Doesn't matter which one we put in which one. They're the same length. Again, this is all aluminum, so over-tightening is not your friend. Snug. No more. These things only operate at a couple pounds of fuel pressure, so there's no need. Things should be precision. So when you over-tighten them, start bending stuff. Now, last time I said a turn and a half out. It's the same. Well, these ones can be a little less. Sometimes you end up with only turning in 30 quarts, a little less than a turn out. But I'm going to start with 1.5 out. Good. In all these DellOrtos, in my experience, it's a good rough measure. Okay, I'm going to take the. There's no cable, right? So the cable end would sit in here. Come out. There's no cable end here. There's no cable. Again, I'm pushing pressure on this now because that spring wants to pop up. So you have to be careful not to cross thread this. Do it by hand. Run it all the way in by hand. Because again, if you cross thread it, this is aluminum. That means you're pretty much done. Time to get a new carb. Now, these carbs, fortunately, actually aren't that expensive. It's nice. But still, no sense in wrecking stuff if you don't have to. Remember that rubber seal? Don't goof it up either, like I almost ran it in incorrectly there. I'm actually going to back this all the way up and drop that rubber all the way down. So, 'cause it seems to want to act up on me. So, taking your time, don't muck up that rubber. See, it really wants to not sit in there properly on me today. You don't want that to happen. I think we got it that time. Back it out just to make sure. Okay, so now it's seated properly in there. And again, I can run it all the way in by hand. Just give it a little snug. If you can't do that on these things, something's wrong. Go back and fix it. Gonna assemble a main jet stack again. Yeah, so main jet into the mixer. Main jet generally affects carb performance after half throttle. That was a 8. Again, snug, not crazy. Careful, you have to make sure you're not cross-threading again. I can't overemphasize how easy it is to cross thread these things. I mean, I'm just spinning them in pretty quickly, but real care should be taken to make sure that you're not cross threading them. Here there's another O-ring on the base. This is for allows you to drain fuel out, which is nice. Again, I like these carburetors. They're simple. I kind of like the goofy aesthetics of them, and like I said, so far I've been really pleased with how they work. Okay, the last tricky bit here is going to be getting the okay, now, so as I was saying, this is the last little tricky part. I've got to get that needle and seat in there like so. So in this case, I'm actually going to drop that in. I'm going to take this guy, this float, and I'm also going to drop it in. And I'm going to kind of try to show you in here that that foot needs to go in there, and that other foot needs to go in there, and then this whole pin needs to go back through that. Again, definitely the most tricky part of assembling this. And there we go. So make sure the whole thing operates properly. Make sure you got your gasket there. Okay. And indeed, the whole thing is operating properly. So we're gonna put her back in there. Again, looking down in there, you can see the holes for the various circuits: the low-speed circuit, the choke circuit, and the high-speed circuit. Those little split washers in there. Again, hand threading everything. You can see it must have been 3 or 4 times there I wanted to cross thread before it threaded properly. So yeah. Fuel filter, cap, rubber gasket in there. That needs to seat properly, okay? So don't over tighten this one either, because if you tighten the center screw down too much, it'll bend these outside up. So it'll push the center down and the outside's up. Then it's not going to seal properly anymore. It's going to leak fuel. Also, gasket underneath there, absolutely critical. If that gasket's not there, it's gonna leak, and leak a lot, right? So you can be like, whoa, what's going on? There's gas all over the place. Okay, that's it. That's plenty snug. That's it. That's all there is to it. So there's no reason to be scared of these carburetors. I like carburetors in general, you know, big 4-barrel Hollies and all that. Edelbrocks. And I also really like these little carburetors. They're very simple. It's kind of neat. Okay, thanks. See you again next time. Bye.